My name is Kyle Maynard. My entire life, some people have told me that my dreams were impossible. I know in my heart that they weren't.
When he was born, the world didn't realize it wasn't really set up for him.
Forgive me for being so blunt, but it seems to me that if a guy like you quits every time you can't do something the first time around, you're going to be quitting a whole bunch of them.
I still have a few more dreams yet to live.
This is my time, and I'm gonna make this love.
Extraordinary Kyle Maynard. He is one of the most inspiring young men you will ever hear about. Of the just released book, No Excuses.
A few months ago, I told you here in this program that he had begun training for his biggest challenge yet, to become the first quadruple amputee to do nothing less than summit Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm happy to report that he did just that. He made it. Barefoot.
The dirt off and keep on going. But that's where you learn, who you are inside.
The message, I believe, to me means, not to make up reasons as to why we can't just go out and live our dreams. Like, this meeting is about, the bedroom is on the top floor. Only adaptation in the third floor is I have a stool to go and get up into the bathroom sink, use a normal razor blade to shave with, normal toothbrush. Down in the main floor, I have two stools to go and get up to the kitchen countertop to cook, and only adaptation there. And in the garage, on the first floor, I drive a Dodge Durango, and the only adaptation on that, just SUV, it's got lifted up extended pedals, it's a normal steering wheel, so I go and put the seat up a little bit closer to the wheel, and I use my left foot to hit the brake, the pedals just kind of come up and they're extended. So I use my left foot to hit the brake and use my right foot to hit the gas. And sometimes I really freak my friends out when I answer my cell phone and I'm driving. Or every now and then too, coming around the corner too fast at like a drive-through and turn around and pass something with my credit card to, I'm like, whoa, freak out, catch somebody off guard. My life though, I think probably would have been very different had my mom and dad gone down that path of seeing everything that was wrong with the situation. And as adults, we get to go and decide, maybe as kids we don't necessarily understand this, but later on in life, we get to go and make a decision to go and see, where am I putting my focus on? Am I putting my focus on all the things that are wrong with whatever circumstance that I'm in? Am I going down that path of complaining or whining or making excuses, or am I going to go and focus on those things that are empowering? That help me grow as an individual, that expand my belief in what I'm capable of. And it wasn't just the physical stuff that was like hard to figure out at first. I mean, it was challenging, but I always knew that I'd be able to figure that out. It was more the emotional, psychological. Kids would come up when I was younger and ask tons of questions, like over and over and over again. They would ask, what happened to your arms and legs? What happened to your arms and legs? I'd be 4 or 5 years old and in kindergarten, and a lot of kids would come up and keep asking questions. What happened to your arms and legs? My family would kind of coach me to answer them and tell them that this is the way that I was born, or this is the way that God made me. And sometimes kids would accept that, but most of the time they wanted to know the real story. They didn't accept that as the answer. So they keep asking over and over and over again. And so the rule was in my family, as long as they asked 5 or 6 times, an obnoxious number of times, at that point, I was allowed to tell them anything that I wanted. So the story quickly became, you want to know what really happened to my arms and legs? And they're like, oh yeah. And I go and say, well, I was being really bad at the zoo, and my dad takes me and dangles me over the tiger cage and throws me in. You see them whoa! I get it now. It'll be the last time they'd ask. And one of the best examples of this, she's a grandmother, and she's trained at my gym now for over 4 years. And she, when she started, she could barely do a push-up on her knees. But now, as a grandmother, she's in the gym doing handstand push-ups, full handstand push-ups. As a grandma, shouldn't be able to happen. Shouldn't be possible. And then, with the fight in mixed martial arts and ultimate fighting, it was a big setback. I got denied to fight in the state of Georgia at first, and it was a harder emotional time there. It was the first time I'd ever been blocked from doing something. The head commissioner from the athletic commission that governs the fights, he said he was an off-duty police officer that was shot in the spine and paralyzed. And he said, I think it's an amazing thing that you're out here showing people with disabilities that you can do anything. And he said, I'll be there cage side when this happens. And 3 weeks away before my first fight, and I was denied to fight. It took 2 years to go through the process of going through it and finally getting to go and step into the cage. And when I did, I stepped in, they closed the cage door behind me and put the pin in. I remember the sound there, and I thought, if hearing that pin drop in the cage door, I'm thinking I'm locked in here now, whether I want to be or not. And it was one of the most amazing moments. I'm sitting there and looking around and realizing, this is that dream that I had envisioned and fought for. And for 3 rounds, the guy that I fought basically backpedaled and jabbed and crossed and ran and didn't want to go to the ground. And I ended up losing on the judges' scorecard 30-27. But it was after the fight was done, I was sitting in that cage and just looking out through it. And it was such an amazing feeling of having that to experience that for the first time. And the thought that went through my head was, honestly, I felt sorry for everybody who said the things that they had said before. Because I thought they would never get to have a moment this beautiful. They would never get to have a time when, because their fear of saying, I was going to get killed in the sport is no different than this projector screen here. It's a mental projector screen where they're imagining themselves in my shoes and they're saying that if I were Kyle, I couldn't do it. That has no bearing, no reality on me. And when anybody ever doubts you or tells you that, and sometimes it comes from the people that we love the most, you have to remember that all it is someone else putting themselves in your shoes and saying that if I were you, then I would be able to go and do it. It has no bearing on your reality. But over and over and over again, these experiences I've had were incredibly tough at first. I hope you take this challenge seriously of being able to go and just change that one excuse that's keeping you from reaching your highest potential. And when you do that, you have to realize for everyone in here, I'm not just talking to students, but every single person in here, how different would this community look if everyone in here did that? Just change that one thing. Because it sets us on that path for improvement and growth. And the universe Mr. Chopra get to speak about something about the universe, and one of the beliefs that I have about the universe is that at every level, it's moving. The biggest, the planets, the stars, the solar systems, the galaxies, everything is moving. This Earth is, moving through space at like 66,000 miles per hour. And even down at the tiniest level, the tiniest like subatomic particle level, like things are moving there too. So your life is moving as well. It's either shrinking or it's growing. We're dying or we're living. And when we go and set ourselves on that path, we're going to confront our biggest challenges and to confront our biggest fears and to do that boldly with courage and to continue to move forward through it. No matter what, even if we continue to fail, we are on that path of growth. And our life will move in that direction. Things, unimaginable things, I think, are capable of happening at that point. But it is only when we actually confront it. The things that my mom and dad helped me with in my life were the things that I continued to need their help with over and over and over and over again until I had to come to a point where I had to deal with it on my own. I was actually 16 years old the very first time that I ever dressed myself. They would help me get dressed before school, and they would put on my socks and put on my pants and zip up my pants. I couldn't put on socks. I could put on like a t-shirt over top, but you had to put on my socks, couldn't put on my pants, couldn't zip them up, couldn't button them. And so I was dependent on help. And I'm sitting at home the first time that I had to do this. And it was the summer vacation before the next school year. My best friend, who's sitting backstage, Joey, we've been best friends since we were 11 years old. Joey called me up, and he said that he wanted to come by in an hour, and he's going to pick me up, and he's going to go and take me to a movie. And so my mom was 5 minutes away at a local park watching my sisters in a softball tournament. So I called her, and I was kind of in a panic, and I told her, I was like, you have to come home right away, because there's absolutely no way I'm asking my best friend to get me dressed. So she said, let me call you back. 5 minutes later, she called back and she said, I'm sorry, I can't leave. You're going to have to figure out how to go and do this on your own. And she told me later, she said that she could have left and chose not to, and said that was one of the toughest decisions that she ever had to make as a mom. And so, the very first time I got dressed, I remember I'm sitting there in sweatpants, and I wanted to go and change into a pair of jeans, and I'd never put my socks on. And so I'm I'm looking at this how am I going to go and get this thing on? And it was, my dad was an engineer, and so he would always teach me that there's a tool for anything to go and use, right? So that you can find anything, any tool to go and figure out how to go and use something. So I went and found a paperclip out of a drawer. I put the paperclip in my mouth, and I went and shaped the paperclip to form a hook, and went and stuck the hook inside the sock, and for 30 minutes fought with this thing trying to pull this sock on, and was sweating all over this stupid sock and paperclip. It was 30-minute battle before I finally got that on. So the next sock now I had to go and move to, and it took about 15 minutes or so in order to go in to get that one on. And at that point, I remember I'm completely drenched in sweat. After I put my t-shirt on, I was thinking I have to take everything off and shower, then put it back on. And definitely didn't have time for that. But I had to go and figure out how to zip up my pants next. So I went and leaned back and I stuck the zipper inside the paper clip in the zipper, and held this paper clip in my arms and used that to zip my pants out there. And that whole process took right about 55 minutes or so. So Joey shows up right after that, and I ran out of time to figure out the button, so went to the movie and without my pants button. That's my big secret. But Joey arrived and had no idea about this battle that I had been through. And so now the reason why I'm standing here without the sock on is because if you think about this, right, the challenges that you go and face, if you are honest with yourself and choose to go into to change that one excuse, and to confront that thing, it might be the fight of your life. It might be incredibly tough at first, but at some point, it becomes a lot easier. For me, I don't use the paper clips anymore when I put the socks on. It takes maybe 10 or 15 seconds.
No hay excusas para que una persona pueda alcanzar sus sueños y tú eres un ejemplo de ello, Kyle. Bienvenido a México, sé que es tu primera vez aquí en nuestro país y estamos muy, muy agradecidos de que nos estés acompañando. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you. No, this is a huge honor to be here, right? 10,000 new friends.
Exactamente. Y han llegado muchísimas preguntas de la gente que está aquí, así que damos pie a ellas, ¿te parece?
Sheila Becerril, de la UNAM en Administración, te pregunta, si tuvieras la oportunidad de tener tus extremidades, ¿cambiaría algo de tu manera de ver la vida?
Wow, that's a great question to start with at first. I would say the answer to that when I was younger, I would have said absolutely. I think so. And I think now there's nothing I would take to be born different. I think it's been the greatest gift that I've ever been given.
María Fernanda Fraga, de la Universidad Michoacana de San Nicolás de Hidalgo, dice, ¿cuál es tu reto al despertar día a día?
Waking up before like noon, maybe some days. I think that getting just to have something to go and wake up and be excited about every day is a continuing challenge. Because it's something where, to me, like I'm grateful for things that I've got to experience it, but there's still so much more that I want to do. So it's about just trying to figure out like what else is there that I really want in this life and going after that. I think that's probably the biggest challenge I face.
Claro, Hernández, todos tenemos discapacidades. Para ti, ¿cuál es la peor discapacidad que un ser humano puede tener?
Wow, the worst disability you can have. This is a deep question. I would say the first thing that pops into my head is a lack of curiosity. I think that we have to just, be just curious and adventurous, and say like, what else is there? And also maybe disconnectedness, to go and say that like my life doesn't mean anything in this bigger picture. There's no difference between, me or Deepak or any other speaker or anything like that, or you guys and here. There's no difference. There's no separation. Not at all. The only separation is the separation that we perceive ourselves. And that just doesn't exist, in reality, except for what we kind of turn it into.
Licenciada Ana Laura Guerrero, de la Universidad del Centro del Bajío en Celaya, Guanajuato. Soy subdirectora de una preparatoria. Dime qué decir a un adolescente que me dice no puedo y que veo que tiene todas las partes completas de su cuerpo y me hace sentir impotente ante su actitud.
Yeah, I think that the disability, in my opinion, has nothing to do with, with anything with like the physical side. It has everything to go and do with that like belief, right? It has everything to go and do with the student going and just making that disability really for themselves that didn't exist otherwise. And I think that the thing to go and tell them then is, look, you have to be the one to make the choice. No one else is going to make it for you. And the deal is, we want to go and help other people too. And I know this is a motivated group. I know many of you guys, got up at like probably 4 or 5 a.m. to go and travel and to get here and on time. And it's something where sometimes in really motivated groups, like, we've got to go and learn to be able to go and take care of ourselves first. If you have to learn to put your own oxygen mask on, like when you fly in a plane, they tell you put your own mask on first. Don't put the kids on next to you or someone that needs help. Like put your own mask